So check this out. In Ezekiel chapter 8, God shows Ezekiel this crazy scene. He looks into the temple and he sees 25 guys standing there with their backs to the temple of the Lord, facing the east, worshiping the sun. That right there was a straight up insult to God. Because when God designed the temple and the tabernacle, he made it so that you were worshiping towards the most holy place, where his presence was, which was facing west, which means by default, your back was to the east. Your back was to the rising sun. Now, this wasn't an accident, right? God set this up that way on purpose because all the nations around Israel, they worship the sun. They worship pagan gods. So by facing west, Israel was making a statement. We don't worship creation. We don't worship idols. We don't worship other gods. We worship the Creator and the Redeemer. Now, when Ezekiel sees these men turn around, put their backs to God's presence, and face the sun, it's like they completely reversed the order of worship that God gave them. They weren't just bowing down to the sun. They were rejecting God as their Redeemer. And that is why God tied the Sabbath so closely to redemption as well. Deuteronomy 5 and verse 15 says, "Remember you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand. Therefore," he's saying this is why, he commanded you to keep the Sabbath. The Sabbath was a reminder that God redeems, God delivers. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 12 says, "I gave them my Sabbaths as a sign, so they know that I am the one who sanctifies them." And verse 20 adds, "Hallow my Sabbaths, and they'll be a sign that I am your God." It's like God saying, don't look at the sun for life. Look at me. I'm the one who saves you. I'm the one who created you. That is salvation right there. It's not us doing the work. It is him, right? Even Hebrews 4 backs this up. It says, "There remains a rest for the people of God. Those who enter his rest have ceased from their works, just as God did from his." That's pointing straight back to Christ. Can you see the parallel? The Sabbath isn't about the sun or about man's works. It's about resting in Christ as our Redeemer. God had Israel face west in the temple to make sure their worship was centered on him and not the sun, not other gods. And the Sabbath was the weekly reminder that he's not just the creator, he's the Redeemer. So let me put something on you real quick. You know, in Revelation 14, it talks about the everlasting gospel. Now, most people read right by this, but it's actually tied straight to the Sabbath. And this is why. The angel says, "Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea and fountains of waters." That wording right there, it's lifted straight from the fourth commandment, the Sabbath commandment in Exodus chapter 20. "In 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that is in them," right? So the gospel message in the last days isn't just Jesus saves. It's also worship the Creator. This is like the final warning in Revelation. Worship the Creator. Get into the ark. And the Sabbath is the sign of that, because every week when you rest on the Sabbath, you're saying, I know who made me. I know who redeems me. So the Sabbath isn't just about creation, it's about redemption. When Revelation says the everlasting gospel calls us back to worship the Creator, the Sabbath is built right into that. It's like saying, hey, don't forget who I am. I'm the one who made you. I'm the one who redeemed you, and the one you will rest in forever. Now, I want you to think about this. God is very intentional, right? Why would God bless the Sabbath, set it apart as a sign that he is our Creator, a sign that he is our Redeemer, a sign that he is the one who sanctifies us, just to turn around later and say, never mind, I'm switching to Sunday. It doesn't line up with his character. God's plan has always been from everlasting. He knew Christ would rise on the first day of the week. Yet, with that foreknowledge, he never once commanded his people to honor Sunday. From Genesis to Revelation, the Sabbath keeps showing up. But you never hear a word about Sunday being sacred, because it isn't. Satan, though, he doesn't need new tricks. Back in Ezekiel's day, he had Israel literally turn their backs to God in the temple and bow towards the sun. Fast forward to today, and Christianity as a whole has embraced a tradition that also traces back to sun worship. Rome was once a pagan empire. Constantine wanted to unite pagans and Christians, so he picked the day that pagans honored the sun, the venerable day of the sun, and made it the law of the land in AD 321. And honestly, it wasn't hard to convince many Christians. Why? Because there was already hostility towards the Jews who had clung to the Sabbath. A lot of believers didn't want to be associated with them because they blamed the Jews for the crucifixion of Christ. So they went along with Rome. Those who refused were pushed out and cut off from the majority. If you don't know what cut off means, go look it up. But here's the key. This wasn't really Constantine's idea. This was Satan's move. Sunday is his counterfeit of the Sabbath. He is not a creator. He can only copy, twist, and pervert what God has already established. And at the heart of it, it's about obedience. Romans chapter 6 and verse 16 says it plain. You are a servant to the one you obey. So when people set aside God's Sabbath in favor of man's tradition, whether they realize it or not, they're giving their allegiance to the wrong master. And when you worship the beast and the mark of the beast is implemented, that's how you get the mark of the beast.